Good afternoon, audience. My name is Jacqueline Dwyer, and I am one of the founding members of the Toronto Black Farmers Collective and one of the farmers. Today, we're here to share tips with you on how to extend the life of your produce during the off season.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Noel Livingston from the Toronto Black Farmers Collective. I'm here to share some of our experiences in terms of growing food, and especially on the off season, we can create dishes from some of those foods so we can have food right through the year.
Today, audience, will be sharing with you a few tips when you take your vegetables home from the store or the farm, how you prepare them, clean them, and put them away so when you're ready to use them on the go, they are ready for you. People get really overwhelmed when they come home from the grocery store. The farm is different. The farm is a place when you come here, you see the vegetables in their habitat, you want to engage with them, you take them home. And when you take them home, you want to taste them for their freshness. So, literally, what you do is clean them, wash them. You can store them in diverse ways. You can put them in Ziploc bags. You can chop them up roughly and put them in containers, particularly your leafy vegetables. And for things like your cabbage, you can shred. Things like your carrots, you can shred. Your beets, you can shred. And other tiny leaf brassicas, you can clean them, put them in a strainer, dry them, and then you put them in Ziploc bags or containers with covers and lock them away in your fridge. And you know that when you're ready for them, they are ready to go with you. Usually, when we come from the market, most people, it's secondhand to just take your produce and lock them away in the fridge. That's okay if you are tired and you need to take a break. But what you should be getting into the habit of is taking your produce, cleaning them up, taking off dead leaves. After you've cleaned them up, then you rinse them. One tip on rinsing is that you catch water, running water in a bowl. You can put maybe a tablespoon of white vinegar, and then you rinse the leaves of your leafy vegetables. So your brassicas like your kale, your spinach, your arugula, your pea shoot, your sunflower sprouts. Then you put them in a big strainer, shake them, get that excessive water off of them, and then let them sit and drain. Once they drain, then you start to take them individually, put them in Ziploc bags, package them. Some people even go as far as naming what's on putting the names on the bag so you know if you're not there, somebody can take it and use it and know what is in the bag. And then you lock it away. It could be in a container in your fridge, or you can line it up in your fridge because these bags can stand up. And when you're ready for them, if you're going to make a salad to go, all your ingredients are at your fingertips, ready. You just have to add it in your container to go.
Thing I noticed that a lot of us, because of the time, our schedule is always tight, and we hear it from everybody. Whether it be a single mom or just both parents, that it's so much time. I don't have the time. I'm tired to prepare the food. So as Jacqueline mentioned, what we should do or what we could do after all said and done in terms of washing the food and stuff, there are other ways that we could use the time to prepare the food. So if you have a dehydrator, you can dehydrate a lot of the foods. One of them is, as weird as it sounds, like squashes. You can shred it. You can use your tomatoes to dehydrate. Even your cabbages and kale, especially if you're going to make a kale chip. So there are so many ways that we could improvise in the kitchen. We could be creative because food is an art in itself, and so it's not a crime to mess up. Just start all over again. And this is where the fun is. Include your family, your children. They love to do that. Tell them how great they are. They're good cooks, and this is what we do. We set the premise, that foundation, for them not to see it as a job or work, but fun, and the entire family can be a part of that process. The buzzword is we hear a lot around here is organic. We don't necessarily say organic, we say clean. Main reason is that it sounds kind of political, and as soon as most people hear organic, they think that it's something expensive. Now, we're consuming food. You know your doctor, you know your mechanic, but do you know your farmer? One of our, punchline is simply this: know your farmer just the way you know your doctor. And in other words, there's accountability. There's also transparency. You can go to the farm. We're on a farm in the city, uptown, but a lot of people just walk to the farm, um, and it's a place for people to come and just unwind. It's not just to take your money and give them the food and they go away. We community it helps to build community for people to understand the different cultures that exist within our community. So in terms of the organic food, and we just say clean food, and for us, especially nowadays, amidst this COVID-19, people are more concerned about what they consume to build their immune system. So you need to know your food chain. What are some of the values you get from consuming certain foods? We could go in some more in depth on that as we go. But that's just one of the things we should all know. What is it that is clean? How do we consume those foods? And of course, we mentioned earlier how to prepare those foods. So yeah, just a synopsis of what we'll talk about if you should mention about clean food.
So clean food is a tagline we use here at Black Farmers. Everybody else says organic, we say clean. We emphasize clean because your food is your medicine and your lifestyle is your therapy. And so you want the utmost best to be going inside your body, giving it the vital nutrients that it needs to function and to keep you healthy. In the midst of this pandemic that we exist in right now, we encourage everybody to build their immune system. Use food. It's a tool, it's a powerful tool to help you naturally to build your immune system. One of these foods that we have that is a local medicine, that we don't have to grow. It's a perennial, and it's native to Ontario. It's called sumac, and sumac grows along the highway. It grows in parks. It grows in communities. There's two varieties of it. The red one is edible. The white one is poisonous. Stay away from it. But it gives you the rawest form of vitamin C that you can get from a plant. And so if you drink a lot of water, it's great to take the sumac. The sumac is a clump of berries. So once you cut it off the tree, you wash it, you cut it in two, put it on your counter, you let it sit. Any bugs or insects that are in there, they'll crawl out. And then once it's dry, you get a clean jar, you crumple them, crumple the berries and put it in your jar. They're like sort of like a fibrous kind of berry. They're red and they have that citrusy smell to them. So I call them the citrus of the north. And you crumple it, you put it in your jar, you lock it away, you can put it on your counter in your cupboard. And anytime you're going to make some tea that you want the presence of strong vitamin C, you can drink your sumac. You can also add it to your water, and it turns your water pink. And that is the rawest form of vitamin C you can have in this beautiful environment that we dwell, that we have snow outside today. That is a medicine that is local and it's free and it's abundantly around you. It is very, very important to support local agriculture for a number of reasons. I'm going to give you two vital ones. The first one is that there is traceability to your food and the person that is growing your food. We reside on a certified organic farm, meaning we cannot use any chemicals or pesticides on this farm, or the certification will be taken away. The second reason is that you want your food to give you the utmost nutrients that it was grown with. And so you want to get it fresh as possible from the plant. And so you want that food that is harvested today to be eaten today so that it gives you all those vital things you need to build immunity, to keep you awake and energized, and to keep your body healthy. So those are two very, very important things that economically it makes sense to support local farms and local farmers here. And number two, you get a punch of nutrients when you eat your food fresh.
If you should compare the food that is bought at the store and the one that is grown on the farm, there are two things you look at. One of them is, like we mentioned earlier, to know your farmer, and there's accountability. But when you go, a lot of people are concerned about, allergies right now. Everybody's, oh, I have allergies. And so one of the things that has impacted us in a bad way is pesticides and herbicides. And to alleviate that, and it's imperative that all of us take the responsibility to ourselves to know what you consume. So if you know your farmer, if you know where the food is grown, I guess you'll have a better understanding, a control of what you actually consume. So that's one of the main reasons. We are not saying that you shouldn't buy your food at the big stores, oh, but know your farmer, know where you grow your food. If you want to get optimum, um, results from what you consume, that's the best way to do it.
Seed saving is a very vital and important part of farming, gardening, or growing. Um, some seeds, you're able to harvest them throughout the season. Some plants grow right through the season, and in the beginning of the next season, they give you seeds like the kale and the chard. A lot of brassicas do that. Squashes and pumpkins, once you pick them and they're at perfection, when you're going to prepare it, you just scoop the seeds out, put them in a plate on the counter, put them in a strainer, wash them, and let them sit on the counter for a couple of days and dry them. Once they dry, you get an envelope. I usually get an envelope, a paper envelope. I label what the seeds are. I put the year on it, and I put clean and the variety if I want. And I put it away in my fridge in the crisper, and it keeps the kernel and the seeds healthy and fresh. So when you're ready to plant it, it's not dead, it's not dried out. So that's why we either keep it in the crisper of the fridge or in the freezer of your fridge. And so when it's planting season, you take it out, you tie it out, and you sow it in your pot with your soil and put it where the sunlight is, and it will germinate.
Why do we seed save? It's very important. We could speak from experience. Last year, actually, we grow a variety of products, produce, and what we notice is there are some foods or some seeds that we get is genetically modified, and when you decide that, okay, I'm going to save some seeds, the next year you realize that they're not even germinating, and your germination rate is very, very low. So the reason for that is every day you have a different strain, or every year they come up with a different strain. So to maintain what you have from a good yield, you seed save some of that so you can have that for the next year. And so we encourage everyone, whether it's on a large basis or a small basis, just a gardener, seed save. Always save your seeds. It's important that we do that.
So we have a number of local seed farmers. I know it sounds strange, but you have farmers that actually grow just to harvest the seeds for market. So we have quite a number of those in Ontario. Um, there is William Dam. There is Urban Harvest. She's a local um, urban farmer. And then you have Wesco Seeds, you have Vessies, you have Moms, you have some other smaller producers in and around um, Ontario or outside of Ontario, I strongly urge that you go online and search for them. They're out there. If you're new to this or something that you do, or you just want to build your capacity more, start small and then grow your capacity bit by bit. But always save tomato seeds if you like tomatoes that you are eating. Save some of the seed. If you like peppers, the same thing. If you like the pumpkins and the squash, the same things. The cabbages will seed, but it will seed on its own. So you have to wait until it sends seeds out. And then when it's ready, you will know when it's ready to be harvested. You cut it, set it, and let it sit down and dry so you can actually take the seeds out of the pods. There is another brassica called the oh gosh, it's eating a lot in the south.
Uh, Collard green.
Collard greens. A lot of our ancestors and a lot of our community in the south eat collard greens. They're also another powerful brassica, and they also give you seeds, just like the kale. They're sort of like the same family, but again, when you're in your garden, you're not in a hurry to take anything out. So if you don't take it out right away, no worries. What you'll notice in the spring, if you never harvested the seed, when it's time for the seeds to be picked, nature itself will open up the seed pod and the seed will just blow and it will land in spaces in your garden that you're not seeing it, but it's there. Soil will cover it, and in the spring, it will germinate and you will have more of that product or produce growing again.
One of the ways to prepare a healthy meal, first of all, as we mentioned earlier, you have to look at how the produce is grown. If you have genetically modified food, you can assume that it's not going to be as healthy as you grow clean food. So you look at your food chain to see what kind of nutritional values you'll get out of that, number one. And because, as Jackie mentioned earlier, you wash your, everything is prepared, put in the fridge. Remember, we had that done. And so it's less time consuming. And so all you need to do is to take it out the fridge or the freezer, and you add your whatever season you want to do with that, your salt. I would prefer not to use a lot of salt. If you use salt, because salt is good for you, you get iodine from that. But you use the best salt, which is the black salt or Himalayan salt, sea salt. Those are things that we should at least learn, have some knowledge of that. If you're using sugars, like for your salad dressings, instead of using sugar, which is processed, you use unprocessed stuff. We could use like agave. You could use honey, natural honey from the bee. You could use maple syrup, which is indigenous to Canada. Or you could use date syrup. Dates is a very healthy food. And so people from the Middle East, Africa, those areas, they consume a lot of that. So just a synopsis of what we look at in terms of healthy. Use less, frying of your food. Instead of frying, you could, there are alternatives. You could bake, and also you could steam, because a lot of people are, on prescription from their doctors. They can eat this, they can't eat that. And so there are ways that they have to prepare their meals in a special way. So you can't go to McDonald's and all those places and just eat anything. We're not bashing McDonald's, but you have to, it's imperative on all of us to start looking at our health, especially now in this time and period where everyone is so concerned about COVID-19. And maybe it's good things come out of, bad situations, because now people are concerned about what they consume. And so instead of using a lot of, preservatives and stuff, we look at the healthier way. And so if you use your cabbages or your squashes, you don't have to cook them and kill all the enzymes in it. You steam. It shouldn't take more than 10-15 minutes to cook a cabbage. You can make a coleslaw with cabbages. And the kale, most people, their stomach, it can't digest a lot of raw food. So you can add a little bit of heat to it, just some hot water, boiling water, pour on top of it in 2 minutes, take it off, and it's good to go. It's nice and crunchy. And one of the ways to consume to know that your food is not dead, and it says dead like overcooked, when you're eating it, you could literally hear it in your ears. So it's kind of a crunchy, so you know you're on the right path. So it's good to be aware of those things. Don't be afraid to listen to your body, and your body literally tells you, speaks to you as to what is good for it. Well, your digestive system, your stomach is like most people get bloated if they eat cabbages like raw. So as we mentioned, add a little heat to it, and you're good to go.
One of the most important thing to always remember is that everything in moderation is good. If you go over that moderation, you will feel that impact on your system. And your system talks to you. One of the things I always tell folks to do is to keep a food diary. Because sometimes you go out, a lot of people, they go out and they eat these things or eat different types of food and they come home feeling horrible. Keep a diary. Write down the name of what you ate when you ate it, how much of it you eat if you can remember, and maybe if you can remember the name of the produce, write it down. And so when you want, just like they make medicines for the body, they give it to you in dose. Take small dose at a time. Use more of the things that empowers you and eat less of what makes you feel uncomfortable. You can also, for a lot of like parents who have, families with a lot of food allergy, again, keep a diary, but also look at the foods that make you sick. Consult with a nutritionist or a dietitian, and we have a lot of them around. They will help you to create a guide for yourself, which is very, very important. If you have a lot of allergies to things that you're eating, maybe you're eating too much of it all at once, maybe your body can only take so much at a time, and always keep a journal of what makes you feel good and makes you feel bad. If you are going to eat or get your body used to things like taking new medicines, for instance, they give you in dose. When you are eating food that you think that don't do so well with you, take it in very small dose and pay attention to the reaction of your body to the food. If it's over the top, then it's something that you need to stay away from. But if it doesn't give you that bad adverse reaction, then you know you can take it in small quantity and eventually build your system will build some kind of immunity to it. And eventually your body will take more of it. Food allergies are something that you don't play with. Some people feel it very intense and some people feel it very moderate. When people tell us that they have food allergies, we always tell them to keep a diary because sometimes it's a reaction of two things coming together that they are not compatible and you get the adverse reaction in your system. Maybe if you eat one by itself today and you eat another one tomorrow, you won't have that adverse effect. But food are something that is they're very sensitive, and when they go inside your body, they specifically have a function. And if your body, the function that needs to happen in your system is not happening, you're getting an adverse one, then that's definitely an allergy that you don't want to evoke in your system. So always make sure that you pay attention to what you're eating. And if you go anywhere and they're adding too much of certain ingredients in your food and it gives you, an adverse effect like a headache, achy stomach, like say it to the chef. Maybe he doesn't know because he's just preparing the food and he's might not eating what he served you, but he needs to know so that maybe he can protect somebody else coming through his doors, or you can also save somebody's life by stating that. City of Toronto Public Health have public health officers that go out when a restaurant is not handling, or a cafe, or anywhere they prepare food is not handling the food safely. And when you eat it, it makes you sick. I think maybe in the future now, like we're in a different time now, communities can advocate that they have public health officers come to their community and like talk to them more about these kinds of things so you can better prepare yourself if you're eating in a lot or you order in, or some people still want to go out and have their meals, that's fine. But you are more armed with knowledge that when you go out there, you can ask questions, because a lot of people are intimidated to ask questions. And the questions that you need to ask can save you, can save another person's life, and can prevent a lot of mayhem in the future. So always ask questions. Don't be afraid. And that's why we encourage people to come to the farm, because when you come to the farm and you see us, the people who actually produce from seed to table, you can ask us any questions. We don't have anything to hide. And we are always enthusiastic to share the bounty. And if you say, a lot of people come and they say, I can't eat kale or I can't eat tomatoes. And the first question is, why can't you eat it? And then they'll tell you, said, well, since as you know that, then it's something you shouldn't eat. This is an alternative. Like, for instance, a lot of people come and they say they can't eat tomato. We have a beautiful fruit from Mexico. It's called the tomatillo. It's the Mexican tomato. It's a fruit. It's a beautiful fruit. And it is so delicious when nature tells you that it's ready to eat. It's sweet like a plum, and it makes something everybody loves to eat, salsa. And it doesn't, you have no adverse reaction when you eat that stuff. So it's always important to come and speak directly to the people that are growing the produce. So you're more armed with knowledge and information. So whether you come to us or you go to a grocery store or a small market, you have information and you have knowledge that you can make better choices for yourself and your family.
So we mentioned earlier about your food chain and how to improvise in the kitchen. So a lot of people don't have a lot of money to buy things every day, and sometimes you look in the cupboard and you're like, oh, I only have one ingredient. For instance, chickpeas. You might say, okay, so we fix some chickpeas today for the children. We have some curry, we have some turmeric and some herbs. You make a stew, and you can incorporate that with your squash. So, but tomorrow is another day, and you're like, my golly, all I have is chickpeas. Well, if you had done something earlier, like being creative overnight, so you soak some of that chickpeas, put it in your fridge, naturally it gets softer, less time to cook, and you have a grinder, you grind it up with some herbs. You incorporate some your seasoning, put some flour into it. Right there, you have a falafel. You make it like little dumplings or whatever, and you have falafel. It tastes different. It even look different, and you're gonna enjoy it. So, food is not something that you should be, see it as a job. Yes, the chef, it's hard work, but in the kitchen, like at home, you should have fun. You're improvise. You're creative. It's very spiritual. So whatever you put in, you'll get out of it. And if you have fun, you're gonna find that you're gonna prepare a good meal because it's not boring. You're not like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm tired of this. You're gonna put your best shot. Give it your best shot, and you're gonna find out when you put all that on the table, the family's gonna enjoy it and your friends.
Some basic vegetables that you can grow on your counter or maybe in your living room. First one is sprouting. Sprouting any seeds that gives you that first germination. We call it a superfood because it's so strong. It's from the kernel of the seed. There's peas, there's sunflower, there is broccoli. There's a numerous amount of seeds that you can sprout. Um, and also, if you want to grow, then You can start with herbs. Herbs are lovely. People love herbs. You can grow a variety of herbs in a small pot. And again, you'll have access to fresh herbs in your kitchen. That when you touch it, it just invigorates your saliva. You want to cook, you want to put it in things that you're preparing. Um, another tip is you can sow peppers in pots, pepper seeds like either sweet pepper or hot pepper or spice pepper. You can also, if you have the seeds of, say, kale, chard, um, bok choy, you can sow them in pots. They call that container gardening. You can do that. A small little area in your living room that gets a lot of sunlight, you can put it to work. And it can be a little miniature garden in your living room that actually adds to your kitchen.
Around the farm, we hear a lot of people, the terminology, super farmers. Um, we're humble farmers, and we don't think there is such thing as a super farmer. You might be more knowledgeable of certain things than some people, but um, what we know that every year, every season, you learn something different because it works different. Last year we had lots of rain. This year it was a drought until now, right? So don't be intimidated or feel let down because you try to grow a product and it didn't work too well. Try again, like Jackie mentioned. And so you don't have to be an agronomist, but it's important to look at your soil and to know what your soil factor. Because there are some things that thrive in a certain soil while others don't. Period. So you need to be more observant and just work with nature, because everything we find out that when you work with nature, everything is balanced. It's important to look at it. Your approach might be very scientific. Nature is scientific, but in a balanced way, in a realistic way. And so all these great inventors, a lot of them at one stage realize that it's not because you want certain things to happen one way. Because if you take a plant that is equatorial plant, something that is used to the heat, and you put it in the winter here, it might grow, you might get some yield, but not as much as you'd get in its habitat, its right habitat. So it's important to understand that. And again, like we mentioned, be patient. Give, everything is a process. Give nature its time to work and work with nature, and you'll find that the results will be much better.
One of the things I've learned over the years, from gardening to now farming, is that the insects that are around you, you have insects that are beneficial and you have some that are not so beneficial. The beneficial insects, they help you to have a humming garden. It pollinates your plants like the bees. Canada have over what, 400 wild bees here. Um, and also, insects eats what you eat. So don't think that they eat something else. So if you come to the farm and you see a leaf of kale and it's like has holes in it, it tells you that the insects love this kale and they are eating it with you. So don't feel anyway that you can't eat that leaf because it has holes in it. It just tells you that there's no chemicals on it. They know it, and that's why they're eating it. If you go in a cornfield and you see acreages of corn and there's no squirrel in there, something is wrong with that picture. So always pay attention, as Noel said. Look around you. There's ecosystems that helps you to always get abundance. And if these things are not pollinated, if these animals, insects are not pollinating your plants, then there's something wrong. They're not going to eat it, and you shouldn't either. So just always be thankful, be patient, and be humble. Nature is always on its course. It gives you what you're supposed to get, And it also takes what it needs for that balance to happen. That is very, very vital to remember. There's no super farmers. There's super crazy people who try to spur nature. A part of managing my mental health as a Black woman, I engage with nature, put my hand in the soil, I grow, I nurture, I love, I care for my plants. Um, it is very, very essential, particularly now that we live in challenging and perilous times, that we always remember we're created with everything. Over time, it's gotten, our access has gotten smaller and smaller. Having a garden or an area where you grow things is a very, very crucial to your mental health. Um, you need to balance that. And balancing your mental health is not always inside of a four walls, concrete walls. So you must come out in nature. So whether you walk, you run, you climb, you sit, or you take pictures, or you just breathe deep, nature brings well being to you, to your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, and your psychological health. And you will quickly pick up on the difference when you come to the farm. We see that this year more so than every other years we've been here. So many people, they bring their children, they touch the plants, they look at the bees, they look at the ladybugs, and they were lost in nature because they need to unwind from all of that aggression that we live with every day. So again, we're encouraging people to take time out for self and to balance self. That is very, very important. The plants give you energy. Doesn't matter how tiny they are, they give you energy. They emit energy. And when you engage with the plants, you engage that energy. So it's always, always important to engage with nature.
Yeah, so we do appreciate, all the viewers, the listeners. We're watching this as we speak. We thank you for listening. We hope you learned something from this. And we encourage you to, you don't necessarily have to do everything that we say, but try it for yourself and see how much it impacts you. We believe, though, that food is this connector, it's this glue, it's this magnet that pulls people together. It brings community together. And the culture, I guess it really help us to be appreciative of each other in terms of our culture. And so amidst this, all this craziness that's going on in the world today, I think it's a way for families to really, because the rat race in the city, especially, husbands, they don't see wives that often or even speak to them. The children, the same thing. Everybody rush from home, from school, up to their room. And now is the time for people to reflect and to enjoy and to appreciate each other. Don't wait until, somebody is dead or sick, and you're like, oh, I wish I'd spent some time with them. This is a way. We've seen families walk here in the park and they're together, and it makes a lot of difference. So we really thank you for sharing your time with us. We appreciate it. Come out next spring and summer, and we are here to serve you, not just to take your money, but to meet you, to talk with you, and the good and the bad. That's what makes a society. That's what makes community. That's what makes people. And we thank you again.
The Toronto Black Farmers Collective is located in Downsview Park. We are on the Keel and Shepherd side of the park. There's 3 large greenhouses on the lot. We are in the middle one. You enter from the field or the farm entrance. Um, you can also reach us via, you can check out our website. We have a website. It's tbfcto.webstarts.com. And you can also either email us blackfarmersto@gmail.com. And you can also call us 416-457-3403. Thank you for taking the time today and tuning in to spend it with us. We appreciate that. And we look forward to see you next year, spring 2021.